Up next on a Montana episode of Today's Wild West, we'll saddle up for a real deal roundup and branding on the Wald Ranch. You'll see the amazing work of acclaimed wagon builder Dave Engel.
Culmination of a lot of years of learning.
Plus, the native artists of the Custer Battlefield Trading Post.
Nice and slow.
And the 30th anniversary of the Quigley shoot. It's all next on Today's Wild West.
The Wild West. It's still out there. And we'll show you how to find it. This is Today's Wild West.
It's an early Sunday morning in mid-June in Montana. Branding season. Neighbors are gathering at the Wald Ranch.
Good, how are you? How you been?
No one burns any daylight here. As the clock strikes 6, a convoy of pickup trucks and horse trailers head out for the day's work, rolling through the prairie on a 2-track.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good.
We're soon horseback.
Yep, those guys should be coming over that ridge.
And headed out in this 1,000-acre pasture.
So just kick them down into that draw with everything else.
Okay.
We gather the last bunch of mother cows and calves that need branding.
Oh, there'll be a couple hundred pair in here.
Everybody's in a good mood.
Morning.
And how could you not be? This rolling ranch land, about an hour southeast of Billings, is beautiful. And thanks to some recent rain, everything's green, and everyone's grateful.
Is this unusual to have everything this green this time of year?
Well, not so much in this country. It's more unusual to have it as dry as it's been the last few years. That's why we're so happy that it's kind of back getting the moisture like we have been, but it was kind of late, so everybody was wondering if we'd get it or not.
Nate Wald and his brother Matt run their cows together on this picturesque property. A couple dozen ranchers and other friends have saddled up to help the Wald brothers gather and brand. Time-honored tradition of neighbor helping neighbor.
They help us, we help them. Seeing the young kids grow up doing it, get better, and it's just fun to see everybody and their horses. It's just everything about it's good.
These particular operations, you know, you can't get your work done unless you've got 20 or 30 people at times, just like today, you know. You can't get this work done by yourself.
It's an expert crew and an interesting bunch. Eden Manuel is from Illinois.
Got a job out of high school up in northern Montana working on a cattle and guest ranch, and then just qualified for in-state tuition, so decided to stay.
Brett Heggie trains horses.
We sure enjoy. We make a lot of horses and sell them and keep some for our own, and yeah, we enjoy it.
And Hannah Sherman works on a nearby ranch.
Yeah, I work for the Padlock Ranch. I'm just on the other side of the Wolf Mountain. I'm on the cowboy crew.
It doesn't take long for this expert crew to gather the herd, push them into a temporary corral, and get started. Loops are soon flying, with one cowboy or cowgirl rope in the head, the other the heels.
We head and heel these calves. It's easy on cattle. You don't have to split all the cows off the calves. You just keep them together. They mother up again right as soon as you're done, and it just goes real smooth.
Riders rope a calf out of the herd, and the cowboys get the rope off the neck and around the front feet. Calf is then stretched out, given a vaccination, and then comes the branding iron.
That's how we identify our cattle. You burn them, but I think that skin goes numb. You know, those irons are really hot. It's a quick deal, and they're marked, and they jump up and go back to their mothers.
The cowboys take turns. One group ropes half the cows, then swaps places with the ground crew and lets the other half have their fun.
They're all good ropers and know how to handle cattle, and it's a fun way to do it.
What's your job going to be then?
Just keep tally and then notch the ear tags and count everything. So.
18-year-old Jill Rigler is a ranch kid, here with her dad, Ryan.
Nice way to grow up, I'll bet.
Yeah, very, very nice. It's definitely really lucky.
Jill starts off this morning on the ground crew, but she'll get her turn horseback, and she can rope with the best of them. The young woman plans to spend her life in the saddle as a horse trainer.
So what do you want to do?
Train reining cow horses and breakaway horses.
Spring branding is essential work, but it's also a lot of fun and a great chance for ranchers who spend a lot of time by themselves to get together with friends and neighbors.
This is like best time of the year.
Branding time is like cowboy Christmas. It's what everybody likes to do.
We get to head kneel calves, and it's nice and like warm, but not too warm.
It's also serious business.
And you got a live animal on one end and your own live animal, and then you got a string in the middle, you know.
You got to know what you're doing.
We're really lucky to have this caliber of people.
These men and women do ranch work all week long and then get up early Sunday to help their neighbors out for free.
But it's really good to get together with neighbors and have a good time.
And you never quit learning.
Well, learning, that's as good as you're ever going to get.
Blaine Phillips, who runs a nearby ranch, grew up with a rope in his hand, like most everybody here. But Eden's pretty handy with a lariat as well.
I'm learning. I'm learning the ropes.
Even though she's only been roping for about 5 years.
What's the hardest part of learning how to do this?
Consistency. It's a perishable sport, is what. So the more you do it, the better you get.
This whole day is a pretty picture of what America is all about. Neighbor helping neighbor.
There's a real community of people here that when we get together, you know, we kind of understand each other and get our work done. It's a real fine community to live in. People rely on each other, you know.
Doesn't take long for this like-minded crew to get her done, and the job is finished up before noon. Time for a break and a cold one. The cows get kicked out, and there's one last job. Tearing down the temporary corral. That goes quick too. And later on, we'll regather at Nate's place for a nice lunch. It's a reassuring picture of what America can be, and still is, here on the Walled Ranch in Montana. Up next on today's Wild West, we'll take you to Engel's Coach Shop in Joliet, Montana, where Dave Engel can build you any kind of wagon you can think of and a wheel bigger than you are. They are an icon of the Old West. The giant 1880 20-mule team borax freight wagons rolling again in what is now Death Valley National Park. Wagons recreated exactly as they were originally built by Dave Engel, Montana craftsman who considers the massive wagons his master's thesis.
That's where I've kind of put it in that category. It's a culmination of a lot of years of learning to be able to put this together.
The Death Valley Conservancy, which commissioned this project, searched the country for someone who could duplicate the original but inoperable set of freight wagons that have long been displayed in the desert park.
That was the convincing factor for Death Valley.
A project that for Engel was simply a bigger version of what he'd been doing for decades.
I was already accustomed to duplicating their style of workmanship, and that's what they were looking for.
Dave grew up with horse-drawn wagons.
He always had buggies around.
His father's lifelong passion.
He grew up in a Mennonite family. He grew up driving horses with his uncle. Just kind of a love affair that was always there.
Engel was driving teams by the time he was 10, and horses were part of everything he did.
We had hunted on horseback. We packed back into the Bob Marshall Wilderness on horseback. Our whole youth was on the back of a horse.
But it got to be like eating ice cream 3 times a day.
When I left for college, right out of high school, I had my fill of horses.
Dave majored in agribusiness, but had no real interest in the field. He was working in a feedlot when his brother-in-law called, asking if he wanted to come back to Montana and help start a business fixing wagon wheels.
The first year, we built a couple buggies on speculation from scratch, thinking, maybe we need to have something to sell.
Like a runaway team of horses, the business bolted right out of the gate.
We found ourselves not having time to build new stuff. We were so inundated with wheel repairs, parts and supplies, and fixing and repairing, restoring buggies that I have never built a new buggy since. It's always been custom work.
The partners would go their own way a couple of years later, Brother-in-law Rick Bischoff today owns a thriving business making carriage lamps for horse-drawn wagons.
And turned a business that was creating 30 lamps a year up to 400 lamps a year.
Dave's only real training was what he learned in high school shop class. But for more than 40 years, he's had one reliable teacher by his side every day.
I have often said that the wagons were my best teachers.
Every project is its own instructor, starting with his very first commission, restoring a pair of horse-drawn coaches for Yellowstone National Park.
So in the process of disassembling those and paying attention to the style of workmanship that went into building those, I just began duplicating those. And so it was a learning curve, straight up.
Every wagon, coach, or buggy is unique.
They're all different depending on how they were built, who built them. And that's been my study, is trying to duplicate the different styles.
Taking apart and rebuilding the wagons is a window into a bygone era of craftsmanship.
It's not only a wagon that is made to be functional, it's also made with finesse and style, and that's what intrigues me. Their craftsmanship is a marvel to me.
And they did it all without electricity.
Building those borax wagons, that was one of the things that was on my mind constantly, was how did they do this without electricity?
That is not the case for Dave, but some of his tools are almost as old as the wagons he restores.
This table saw here is a 1908, and it's just right for me.
There's a bandsaw almost as old, and a foot-operated lathe that dates to 1914.
So you don't have to worry about a computer chip shortage in here.
No. This is a pointer that points the end of the spoke that will allow it to insert into the hole of the tendon cutter.
But the tools are his only helper.
I'm not interested in a full production crew. I'm interested in doing the work more than I'm interested in managing people.
There are no apprentices in his shop either. But he does have thousands of them online.
Well, I've had a request for a large wheel, which requires a large hub.
Watching as many videos on his YouTube channel that began with the Death Valley Project.
The request was that I would document it by video, the process, that how it was done, because there is no record of how they built the original ones. So that's what got me into putting my videos on YouTube.
Dave shows viewers how he builds wheels, bends wood, and restores and reuses the original iron recovered from decaying wagons and coaches.
I'm going to run all these through the forge, which will help burn off some of the rust. It will loosen up all the nuts, and I'll straighten what has been twisted and bent, and then eventually run them through the sandblaster, paint them, and then assemble them to the box.
The videos draw a big crowd, one of which had more than 7 million views.
It's an opportunity to actually watch how it's done as compared to reading a book.
And he gives advice over the phone from time to time as well.
Quite a number have contacted me on where to find equipment, how to build equipment. I get that all the time.
There's never any shortage of customers. Engel has a 2-year backlog of orders and isn't taking any new ones.
I'm trying to catch up on this backlog of work. And by the time that happens, I'll work on personal things. I have a number of projects that I'm going to do. So I'll still do the same thing. I just will do it for myself and not for customers.
But by recreating the rich work of the past, Dave may be inspiring a new generation to follow in his footsteps and keep this historic tradition of American craftsmanship rolling for years to come. Just ahead, the beautiful Indian art of the Custer Battlefield Trading Post.
It's so peaceful beating.
And Crow Indian bead artist Marlene Stewart is very good at it, handcrafting beaded cradle boards, belts, armbands, medallions, elk tooth dresses, and more.
Therapeutic.
You betcha.
She's a cheerful artist who loves her work.
Oh, yeah. You give me a cigarette and a cup of coffee and a light, and I'll be beating away.
Marlene's art is not only her joy and passion,
I listen to country music, so it's going full blast.
But her livelihood as well.
Who's your favorite country artist?
Alan Jackson, of course.
And she always has a ready buyer, thanks to the Custer Battlefield Trading Post.
Oh yeah, I could always depend on him. He always looked out for me. Put is like my brother, you know. He's not some stranger. He's always looking out for me.
Putt is Putt Thompson, who together with his wife Jill opened the trading post here on the Crow Indian Reservation back in 1985, just across the road from the entrance to the Little Bighorn National Monument, site of Custer's legendary Last Stand.
They weren't treating it as art, and it just didn't seem right because there's so many artistic people that live around here. I mean, like Marlene Stewart's work, it's just gorgeous.
The trading post, which includes a very popular restaurant, is like a Native American art gallery. Its walls adorned with beautiful traditional war shirts, headdresses, cradle boards, paintings, and more, all for sale, created by the area's many Crow and Cheyenne artists and other Native Americans whose work supports their family.
The cottage industry is big here because of the trading post. I think that's one of the things that Putt and I are happiest about, that we've been able to create a store that shows the work of the Crow or the Cheyenne.
Being located next door to the world-famous battlefield is the perfect magnet to attract those interested in Native art and all kinds of other cool Western merchandise displayed here, including a fabulous bookstore stocked with the seemingly endless titles on the Custer Battle and other stories of the Old West, many of which happened right in this neighborhood.
It's really enjoyable to get to know the people, whether they're local people and you get to know them because of the crafts and things like that, but it's also tourists, the people that come through, because you never know who you're going to meet that day. You never know what their story is.
Marlene, who speaks Crow, has great stories, like the origin of her family's tribal name, Takes the Horse.
They stole them. The Pawnees come over and stole all our horses and took them to Oklahoma. And so the two braves, Crow braves, walked all the way back to Oklahoma, retrieved all the horses and brought them back. And out of the two, one was named Tex the Horse. So that's where I come from.
Marlene's work is a reflection of Crow culture, like the medicine wheel patterns she creates.
A lot of tribes claim it, but it actually belonged to the Crows.
Inspired by the ancient medicine wheel south of here in Wyoming's Bighorn Mountains, on what was once Crow land.
The chief that made the medicine wheel, his name was Burnt His Face. His face was so badly burnt that he would not come amongst the tribe, and so he stayed up in the mountains, and while he was up there, he was making a medicine wheel.
Putt and Jill have not only long loved Native art, but they've encouraged artists like Marlene to revive dying traditions, like cradle boards.
That was a dying art. It wasn't being done. But once Putt started asking these ladies, would you make a cradle board? I commission you to make a cradle board. And then it's over the past 30 years, we've seen more and more resurgence of a part of the culture that was starting to be lost.
In fact, Putt and Marlene collaborated on the design for this cradle board.
I don't want them to buy it. Do you want to know why? Because Putt had work going into that, and I did too. And so that's something to show off, you know. We done this. We done this.
In addition to providing a built-in market for Native artists, the store also employs about 40 people, most of whom are Crow and Cheyenne. Plus, the trading post is packed with all kinds of cool stuff for the rest of us to take home.
It's a win-win-win. A trading post that keeps Native people working and artists thriving, giving countless visitors from everywhere the chance to take home the authentic, beautiful work of Indian artists who make their home in this legendary part of the American West. Still to come,
Nice and slow.
the 30th anniversary of the Quigley.
Nice and slow.
We're in the right spot with the right people shooting the right guns. I look forward to it every year.
The only bad part is one time I come home from the Quigley and my wife had remodeled the kitchen.
Welcome to the 30th annual Matthew Quigley Buffalo Rifle Shoot.
It's pretty cool.
Where every June, hundreds of people from all over the country and around the world
It kind of reminds you of the Old West.
turn a cattle pasture outside Forsyth, Montana into Quigleyville, for a shooting match featuring the guns used by the buffalo hunters of the Old West. The same rifle Tom Selleck carried in Quigley Down Under, a Western movie that inspired rancher Al Lee to start this competition with 29 shooters back in 1991.
How does it feel to have this be your 30th year?
Well, it feels pretty good that I'm still here.
507 people have signed up to shoot here today from all over the U.S. and Canada and as far away as Australia. Most of them have been here before.
People keep coming back year after year, so we must be doing something reasonably right.
The Quigley is no longer a shooting match, it's an event.
It's a big event put on by a small gun club.
Al Lee has done such a great job.
The Forsyth Rifle and Pistol Club offers a rare opportunity
The butterfly, Hannah.
many Americans don't have. A chance to fire at targets more than 800 yards away.
There are very few places you can shoot this distance, and a lot of people come from populated areas that you can't shoot 800 yards.
Each shooter has a spotter.
To gauge the wind?
Yes, and the elevation.
It takes a team effort to hit a target so distant, our camera doesn't even see it unless we're zoomed way in.
If you're watching it through a scope, you can actually watch the bullet bounce back off of the target.
And hitting that distant target is an intriguing challenge that's kept John Fuller coming to the Quigley for 22 years.
Well, if it was a science, it wouldn't be as much fun. It's an art.
John actually won the Quigley 20 years ago with this rifle.
This is a trapdoor copy of a 19th century Army officer's target rifle.
I'm Dad, that's Grandpa, that's Son.
But like so many here, this is a family affair for Fuller.
We've just been gratified to be part of it for all these years.
That's awesome. Good times. Love shooting again.
Reese is here shooting with the Osborne family.
Shade left, Boston.
Boston's 14.
Remember to squeeze the trigger real slow.
Okay.
Kyson's 12, shooting with his uncle, his granddad, and his father, Tim.
Just being here together with no distractions and having fun shooting. Oh, just left, buddy.
It's a great place to safely introduce the next generation to this unique shooting sport.
They learn rifle safety and gun safety and how to respect people and respect the land.
And it's an honest crowd.
First time I come up there with my buddy, he wanted to look at some stuff that one of the vendors was selling. And I said, what do we do with all of our stuff? Because we've got a lot of money and stuff. And he says, leave it. He says, no one will bother it.
There was once even a vendor who operated on the honor system.
And people came by and they looked at the stuff and they put money in the jar because he had a list of what he wanted for the stuff. And pretty soon the pile was almost gone and the jar was full of money.
Got to check out the vendors who set up shop here, offering custom cowboy hats.
Hand done, no sewing machine.
Old West holsters.
Yes, it's hitched horsehair.
Horsehair belts, and much more. And they have as much fun as anybody.
The people and the guns and the country and the birds singing in the morning, and it's just, it's good.
Target hit!
It is a shooting competition, but even those keeping score feel the vibe of this place, renewing friendships with pals they see just once a year.
Hey, buddy, you're dead on.
I have a lot of the same shooters every year, so Tom has been with me for like 20 I don't know, he's shot with me for 10 years, and then he comes with a group of people, and they all hang out with me every year, so that's pretty great.
How long have you had it?
Oh, I don't know, 10 years or something.
Safety is, of course, always number one when handling guns.
Well, we have our procedures. You have to keep your muzzle on your sticks when you're on the firing line.
But it's not much of an issue among this crowd.
Everything goes pretty good. These people all been shooting quite a while.
A gun's a tool.
That's all it is. Guns are not inherently evil.
At the Quigley, guns are fun.
It's nice getting to spend time with my dad. I really enjoy the black powder rifles, even just the smell of the powder. There's something about it.
Even cherished works of art, and just as expensive. With the scope, this outfit's worth $4,000.
40 caliber, 90 grains of black powder.
The shell casings alone cost $4 a piece.
C Sharps donates this to a junior.
But if you're lucky, you might win a rifle. The annual raffle for scholarship fund.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I wish I had some more time to hang out.
It's all really just a great excuse to have some fun with family and friends and make new ones.
We're in the right spot with the right people, shooting the right guns at the right time of the year. Everything is perfect about Quigley.
And you're invited.
I highly encourage people to see this to come on out and visit us.
By the way, Tom Selleck gets that invitation every year, and while he's never attended, he is a loyal supporter. The beloved star has always allowed his image to be used to promote this true Western event.
Squeeze, let us surprise you.
Inspired by his Western movie. That's it for now. We're back next time with more cool stuff from today's Wild West. I'm Mark Bedore. We'll see you down the trail. For more information on the people and places featured in today's Wild West, or to order show DVDs and books, visit todayswildwest.com. Funding for today's Wild West provided by the Leggett Foundation, the Chuck Wagon Trail Riders Foundation, and Monty Carroll Montgomery.